let's go ahead and begin officially the Multidimensional Awareness and Timeline Unification Workshop. And so, yeah, let me get my little PowerPoint thing going here. Awesome. So, like I said, if you guys have made it here, congratulations. Literally, congratulations. You have made it through every single challenge of your entire life, no matter what has happened to you, every single trauma, every single moment, every single event, all the stuff that has happened to you in your life that has led you up to this very moment now. So if you're part of the very select and small group that chose to make it here for this special process today, I want to congratulate you. As cheesy as it sounds, every single moment of each of our lives have come up to this moment. And so if you can, take a moment to look in the chat, look who's with you. If you're able to access and look at the other names, or I don't know if the screens are viewable on this version of Zoom, but you can quite literally look through and see who's here with you. Look who's with us. These are people that are joining you along this journey. A lot of us have worked together in past lives. For some of you that are encountering me for the first time, I may seem a little bit familiar. That's because quite literally we have done this before in other timelines, in other realms, in other stages of our like collective humanity. A lot of us have come back together during this very, very specific period of time in which we're going through very, very specific and powerful activations with specific missions. And so I just want to say, you know, for those of you that have made it here, it's very, very good to see you again. I'm glad that we're once again on this incredible journey. And so what are we doing here today? The purpose of this workshop is to generate awareness of the multidimensionality inherent in each of us and to assist in the ongoing evolution of who we chose to become prior to incarnating in this third dimensional realm. Today we'll be discussing aspects of our developing energetic anatomy and how they relate to the waves of multidimensional energy currently activating in each of us. We will be discussing what we need to be made aware of during this shift from third to fourth density, and then going through a very unique process of clearing our energy, unifying our individual collective timeline toward ascension, disclosure, and the full realization of your chosen mission here on Earth. And there are many of those for each of us. It's not just one singular thing, but today we're going to be just moving a little bit closer to what some of those things are for you guys. But I have to mention, and for those of you that have been with us before, and we say this every single time, the information contained in this presentation represents the accumulation of experiential data obtained from my own personal experience, as well as that of my clients, friends, and colleagues. It also contains intuitively downloaded information given to me through ongoing contact with members of what I've come to understand as the multidimensional higher self council that has chosen to guide me during this third dimensional lifetime. I think a lot of us will understand in the future as we come, you know, to greater levels of our consciousness that a lot of us, the higher self is not one singular being. It is a collection of many versions of you that have existed throughout many dimensional planes that will literally be aligning to join their consciousness into one singular being that will then choose to incarnate in the physical realm here on Earth. And so as woo-woo as that may sound for some of you guys, it's a literal reality for many of us in this realm. And so what that means is that some of the things you hear here may not make sense. They might contrast with your own ideas or others' programmed ideas about the nature of non-physical energy and the way it interacts with our human vessels. In that case, I simply ask you to use your discernment and take only what resonates. Take what makes sense to you. If it doesn't make sense to you right now, maybe it's not relevant, or maybe it's incorrect altogether. We're quite literally figuring this entire thing out together. And so at this stage of our collective development, we are only beginning to scratch the surface of understanding the true nature of negative energetic manifestations, the quote unquote astral realms, and especially that process we have come to call ascension. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that in a few moments, you guys. We're going to go just to kind of clear up some of the spiritual buzzwords and the terminology that a lot of people are picking up, you know, just surrounding this right now. And I know every day we see it online, but as we move forward, it's important to mention that if there's anything you take from this presentation today, let it be an understanding that you are a multidimensional being. You chose to incarnate during this time period on Earth. You came here with a purpose. And it's time for each of us to begin to remember who we are, why we came here, and what it is we intended to do. In my opinion, this is literally the most amazing time we could have chosen to be alive. So But that said, a little bit more about me. For those of you guys that saw us at Dimensions of Disclosure, this was kind of the first time I went into a little bit of what I call a personal introduction, you know, just regarding the nature of how I got here. For those of you guys that encounter me on lives or on Facebook, we do go into limited detail about some of the bizarre experiences, but one of the things I don't normally do is talk about my past or what happened or the awakening process or, you know, really how, you know, I got here. And so I'm just going to start by saying it. My name is Matthew Aaron Mornian. At this stage of the physical incarnation, I'm a multidimensional healer and intuitive reader, specializing in releasing negative energetic attachments, etheric implantation, blocked energy from the body. I use a combination of several things in the work that I do: tarot reading, spirit guide, higher self consultation, which for those of you guys are wondering, what does that mean when he says spirit guide or higher self consultation? By my understanding, I believe it pertains to what a lot of us are, you know, beginning to develop a sense of telepathic interfacing, or the ability to interface with the energy of another person, another being. You know, I believe that by the end of this physical incarnation, for many of us, we will be almost entirely telepathic beings, in that we will be able to communicate or send messages with each other across any distance. But anyway, one of the skills that I use in my day-to-day work is the spirit guide higher self consultation, scalar toning, which we're going to be using today, and a thing called golden frequency attunement to release dead energy from chakras, our meridians, our organs, and other dimensional layers of the body. At this stage of my incarnational cycle, my primary mission at this stage, you guys, is to assist with the healing, activation, and integration of multidimensional energy expanding within each of us. I'm absolutely positive that there are many people with us on this broadcast today within this workshop that have also been called here for that very specific mission. It's going to be individual to each of us. This has been a really long journey for me. And you guys can see some of the text on the screen, but to kind of cut it short, my experience, you know, with this stuff has been very, very brief. I came into this kind of energetic realm, I'll say, you know, right around the 2012 shift. And you guys can look at the, you know, that crazy little photo posted there underneath my image and just kind of get a view of the energy and the feeling and the person that I was in 2012. And it was just a different stage, pre-awakening. What happened to me is that I believe I was part of the primary soul group of individuals that started to come online, quote unquote, in 2012, in which our realm began to shift and this greater awakening process started for a lot of us. And what happened to me around 2012 is I took this to be some form of like almost a mental health emergency. And I really started to feel like I was losing my mind. Things in my life were changing. And at the time, I was working as a chemical dependency counselor at a veterans treatment center in San Diego. And I began to go through these very, very strange experiences. I felt that I was losing my mind, and I began, you know, I went to a psychiatrist and I started taking meds, and that was in 2012. And I had done that several periods of my life, but what was happening was that I was unaware of the nature of, you know, who I was and what I was. And a lot of us have these journeys in which we are empaths or psychics or, you know, highly intuitive beings, and we go through great periods of our life thinking that those gifts are quite literally disabilities or just highly sensitive frequencies in the body that make it very difficult for us to live here. And unfortunately, Western society has labeled some of those great gifts as, you know, mental illnesses. And, you know, I sought to study that, and I entered, you know, that realm, and I was in there for many years. But fast forward to about 2015, after I'd successfully kind of squashed down this you know, awakening process that was starting in 2012. And fast forward to 2015, some of you guys have heard me kind of tell a little bit of this story, but I wasn't doing any energy work. I wasn't involved in any of this stuff. I had a knowledge of, you know, kind of just what was going on in this world in terms of the ET presence and, you know, in terms of some of the evil or the negative energy that was happening in the world. But I wasn't doing anything energetic until, you know, one day I was at a homeless fair at my work, and I was walking through this kind of outdoor area, and it was like an outreach festival. And there was this woman there that said, "Would you like an energy blessing?" And to be quite honest with you guys, I just didn't want to go back to work at the moment. So I sat down in this booth outside at this place in San Diego, and this woman put her hands on my head for, you know, about 2 minutes or so. And honestly, within 30 days of that moment, so many things in my life had begun to organically change. By my understanding and looking back, what happened to me was I had a very rapid and forceful opening of the crown chakra. And what happens for people that will have those certain types of experiences that or rather one of the things that can happen if we have a series of predetermined agreements in place is that I begin to experience what we call a walk-in, a soul unbraiding, a future version of myself or an alternate version of Matthew begin to integrate with this consciousness here. And my life began to take a very incredible turn. To fast forward, you know, years and years on, 2 years later, in 2017, I had a literal, what I call a breakaway experience, or an actual jump, an absolute timeline shift into the next version of myself. And at that stage, in summer of 2017, I chose to literally pack up my things, quit my job, leave my marriage, and literally drive away into this new version of myself. And so here we are, fast forward down the road in 2019. And I would like to say that I am literally living that mission. Along that journey, you know, within that 2-year period, I experienced many visitations, many downloads, literal meetings with members of what I like to call the Multidimensional Higher Self Council, which I think is a thing for a lot of us at this stage of the game. They literally began telling me that I had a mission. It was time for me to remember. It was as if I was being taught and coached and given classes in my dreams. And, you know, within a short time, you know, I had the willingness, I had the strength. I was quite literally ready to make the jump into the next stage of my life. And so the reason why I'm going into this is because I believe that with that act of remembering, I made a choice. A lot of us will make this choice as we enter into this thing called fourth density, or the next evolutionary version of ourselves. And you know, they talk about it in the Law of One and also many other spiritual texts, but there is quite literally a choice point in the human incarnational cycle in which we'll make a choice to step into the next version of ourselves. And so it is my absolute knowing that each of us chose this very moment we are in right now. Every single action, every decision, every choice we have made has led each of us to right now. And so the stage of our collective consciousness, I believe we have access to multitudes of incarnations worth of experience, worth of knowledge, worth of healing. And today we're going to be getting just a little bit closer to the realization of this truth for each of us. And for each of us, it'll be different. What you receive from this workshop, from these lessons, and from the energy work we'll be doing later is going to be entirely different for each person, just kind of based on where we are, what our individual needs are, what our mission is, where we're going. It's a number of things that are different for each of us, but my journey into this realm has been an amazing one, and I'm deeply, deeply honored to be a part of this soul group and individuals, and just to be carrying this message forward. And so I have a feeling some of you guys have had similar experiences, but we'll go ahead and move on and get into some of this this information here. So and you can just notice, look at the difference here between 2012 and 2019. We're going to go into a little bit more about, you know, why that happens, why people look so different as we move on. But it is a literal transformation that's available to each of us. And, you know, why is that? Why do we have these opportunities to transform? Or what are the mechanisms within the human body? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What do we need to know about the multidimensional self? And, you know, we'll just start out with the most simple statement. You are literally a multidimensional being, expanding and evolving at an unprecedented, incredible rate. Your body, your energy, the version of you that's here right now with us is entirely different than the version of you that, well, to be, you know, very specific, is literally different than the version of you that was present in August of this year. But, you know, to be more specific in general, on a collective level, your energy has shifted so much in the past 10 years that we are quite literally different beings. No matter where you are, where you're at in your life, the entire human energetic system is absolutely changing. And so for those of you guys that have been in other workshops I've done, I use this slide a lot because I think it's a good example of just a visual depiction of what the human energy field looks like in somewhat of a visual representation. But the human body is surrounded by an invisible torus-shaped field of energy. That's that donut thing on the left right there, in case anyone hasn't heard of it. Within this field exists a complex network of chakras, meridians, dimensional layers, and countless other energetic structures. As our awareness expands outside of the bounds of the physical body, it's crucial that we begin understanding the subtle flow of non-physical energy and the way its effects extend into every layer of our third dimensional physical experience. So before we move on, I'm going to draw your attention over there to the right-hand side of the screen, and I'm just going to pull out my little weird pointer thing here. And if you notice over here on the right, we have a pretty good depiction of just, you know, the subtle layers, the chakra layers of the body. You will notice from the beginning that we have a couple ones, you know, above and below, and we're going to talk about those a little bit later. But what I'm doing right now is I'm seeding your guys' consciousness with the understanding and awareness of a couple very important energetic centers on your body we're going to be talking about later. Almost like poles on a battery, one above, one below. And those are called the Earth Star and the Soul Star chakra, up at the top of the head and down underneath the body. As we move into fourth density, those are very, very important energetic structures in the body. So just be aware of that. We're just seeding your brain. We're seeding your consciousness with images that will have relevance to you at a later date as we go through some of this information. But notice on the left, we have that interesting round donut-shaped thing right there. That's the torus field. So when you guys, if you're not familiar with what this means, this is quite literally what we're talking about. It's an energetic field that circulates around itself over and over again. Some of you guys are getting to the point where you will literally feel someone just entering that little bubble around you. But let's go ahead and move on and talk about some of the specifics about this stuff. What does it actually mean? What's going on in the body? But before that, what's going on with ascension? What's going on with this 3D, 4D, 5D thing, this idea? All you have to do is open Facebook or Twitter or Instagram if you're in the right kind of sphere of influence, and you're going to be flooded with a ton of memes and statements and, you know, self-styled channeled, you know, messages about how, you know, humanity's in 5D and I'm using my 5D consciousness and et cetera, et cetera. And it's really fun to get behind the vibration of that. But what do these things really mean? What's really happening in the body as we move from third to fourth density? What is fourth density? What are these things even about? And so we're just going to cover a little bit of this, and everyone's interpretation can be entirely different, but this is my interpretation and my understanding of just a little bit about, you know, what these concepts mean. And so in understanding the layers of the energy body, as our third dimensional energy bodies continue to expand, many of us are already experiencing the evolution of our original 7 chakra energy system into the fourth dimensional construct of the Dan Tian. And if you look over here, you guys, on the left of the screen, you will notice there are 3 primary energy centers. If you look over on the right over here, you'll see, you know, the kind of standard human outline of the 7 primary energy centers. But what this means from the very beginning is if you're trying to understand what's going on inside the physical body during this process of ascension and evolution that we're going through, one of the things that's first important to understand is the level to which your energy centers are compressing and changing. And so as our energy centers evolve, so does our sensitivity to energy of all types, positive and negative. In the vibration of fourth density, and I will say in fourth density life cycles and physical incarnations, you still have a physical body. But in the vibration of fourth density, we begin to experience the ability or the phenomenon of existing outside the realm of our physicality, into what we loosely call at this stage the astral realm, the spirit realm. We can say it's outside of space, outside of, you know, just this physical dimension. At this stage of our collective development, we are experiencing additional layers of awareness and consciousness that often begins to manifest in the form of what we call psychic abilities, such as astral projection, enhanced empathy, intuition, telepathy, and the instantaneous transfer of energy, both positive and negative, as well as many other multidimensional abilities. For those of you guys that are trying to understand just some of the fundamental workings of what we might call fourth density energy in the body, you can look toward those abilities as being just the innate frequencies and the abilities that the human body has in a fourth density incarnation. A lot of these things are senses that are blocked from us here in third density, but as we're going through this fourth density transitional period, becoming aware of our fifth density consciousness, we begin to change our sensory system. And so the method by which many of these things begin to activate within the human body is through the compression, the melding, or the joining of our chakras into what will eventually become 3 primary energy centers. Now, why does the human body need to evolve into 3 primary energy centers rather than this multi-layered 7, or actually, way more than 7? There's countless, I believe. I don't know, maybe someone's counted them, I'm not sure, but there multitude of tertiary and secondary chakras within the human body. But as we move into fourth density, we begin to compress and move into these highly concentrated energy centers. In my opinion, one of the reasons for this is as we are able to move outside of the physical body, it's necessary to have more compact, more contained, more highly concentrated. In the law of one, I believe it's even stated that fourth density consciousness or the body is more full of life. It is still physical. And I believe part of that is because our consciousness begins to concentrate, or the dimensional energy in the body begins to concentrate into more solidified energy centers. And so right now you can look at the one on the right and notice the way those chakras and energy centers are all spaced out. It's my opinion that many of us right now are moving into more, concentrated layers of consciousness. And as those dantians begin to form and express in the body, I believe what that's doing is those are some of the mechanisms that are allowing us to awaken these, psychic abilities, intuitive abilities, which are going to be normal and standard for every single one of us as we move through this consciousness. But we're gonna move on. I'm getting some signals across the room. So. But what about 5D? What does that even mean? What is fifth density? Let's talk a little bit about that, because the reality is it's different for everyone. But as we move into fourth and fifth density, we move directly beyond the veil of our third dimensional time-space reality, in that we begin to experience life very differently. The reality is that many of us who have incarnated here at this stage of our collective evolution are what the law of one calls fifth or sixth density wanderers, who have chosen to come back into human form. I know there's people at home that are going, yes, absolutely. A lot of us know who and what we are at this point, but a lot of us chose to come back into this lifetime, into this physical realm for the purpose of rapid advancement of our soul's progress during this ascension cycle. This means that the frequency of 5D, if you guys subscribe to the law of one, which just so you know, and I state this publicly, when I first began to read and kind of expose myself to the information contained in the law of one, I, Matthew, recognized it as the origin of where my soul came from, my essence, the version of me that I think first entered into this sort of physical realm, I believe was part of that soul group of individuals that was working with, that raw social memory complex, or whatever you want to call it. And so I do recognize the law of one as the literal truth of the origin of, my soul into this realm. But so I believe what that means for many of us, if you subscribe to the idea of star seeds or wanderers or higher dimensional beings that choose to incarnate as humans during this very, very special time in our, collective evolution, this means for many of us that the frequency of 5D is an energy inherent within each of us. And one of the ways I like to describe that, it's a bit of a cheap analogy, but kind of the ways in which, as you will watch an infant kind of grow, and just in the first few months of their life, they inevitably will have these moments in which they begin to, recognize themselves or their hands or their appendages. And, you'll watch babies kind of like tripping out on their hands and staring at it. And it's almost like, wow, I have this thing that's been here all the time, this tool, this piece of me, quite literally. And so right now, one of the ways you can understand humanity or just our own collective consciousness right now is we are those infants that are finally becoming aware of who and what they are. And for a lot of us, this awareness of 5D energy is simply us waking up to the fact or the nature of, who and what we already are. And so what that means is that 5D is an energy that's inherent within each of us. And our physical incarnation is really more about coming into an awareness of this simple fact rather than obtaining or realizing some sort of heightened state of consciousness within the 3D body. What we're really doing is we are remembering who and what we are. And so as a spiritual community, what I've noticed, you guys, there's many misconceptions about 5D consciousness. It's like this buzzword that everyone talks about. I've heard some people saying quite literally recently, there's only 600 something people in the world that are in 5D, or, there's only so many people that are this. And in my opinion, you guys, I do not believe it is something that is quantifiable by a number or amount of people or, an actual action or a frequency. What I believe it is a collective frequency that many of us are experiencing and that many of us move in and out of, based on the vibratory rate of our consciousness and what we're attracting, what we're focusing on in this realm. And so what I believe that means in a general sense is that our physical experience here on Earth is one of first moving beyond the veil of separation of 3D consciousness, and then developing our fourth dimensional consciousness toward the awareness of an already existing 5D self. And so for each of us, that's going to be a little bit of a different process. But I think what the important thing to remember about the shift from third to fourth into 5D is that fifth density or 5D is a vibratory state of consciousness. It's not a place that we're going. We're not going to be getting in a time machine. We're not getting in the DeLorean. We're not going to be blasting off into 5D. Some people get mad when they hear me say this, but I don't believe there's going to be this big light that's going to appear and everyone's going to magically transform into a light body and we're just going to leave this realm. While that is a literal possibility, you guys, because we have infinite timelines, for many of us, this is a gradual process that we go through in the third density incarnation by developing and activating the fourth density frequencies in our body. It's a transitional state of consciousness that we, for many of us, will have multiple incarnations of prior to, moving into this, 5D embodied state of being entirely out of time. But the reality is for a lot of us, you guys, in 5D, we are vibrating at a frequency that is, like I just said, literally outside of the bounds of space and time from our third dimensional point of view. In order to increase our vibration and awareness of 5D in this life, like I just said, I'm getting a little redundant here, we need to fully activate and embody our fourth dimensional selves by transmuting trauma, releasing negative karma, and reducing the heavy frequencies of this earthbound realm through, and we're going to talk about this more, detoxification and purification of the mind, body, spirit complex. And so we're going to move into part 2. Now that we've talked just a little bit about, some of this consciousness stuff and a little bit of an overview in broad strokes of kind of, what's happening within our collective consciousness. We're going to talk about a few of the particular elements and the energetic structures in our body that we just need to be aware of right now. What's really going on? What's really happening in your body? So let's talk about the multidimensional chakra system. So a lot of you guys are aware of, chakras at this point. To be very specific, these are layers, seals, kind of circular kind of gateways of energy that exist within the human body. And right now, as we continue to shift into fourth density, the things we need to be really made aware of right now is that we're experiencing this incredibly expanded, frequency range within the chakras. Each of these will apply to specific states of, emotions, some of our organs. A number of things within these layers and groups are activating in really bizarre ways right now. It's responsible for a lot of the ascension systems, quote unquote, symptoms, quote unquote, that we've been experiencing right now. A lot of the ear ringing, some of the sickness, some of the dissociation, some of the anxiety, some of the, very tightly compressed emotions in the body. Many of these things, not all of them, are due to the expansion and the activation of these subtle layers of the body. So what do we need to be what do we need to be made aware of today regarding our chakra system? Well, in my opinion, one of the things I see in my own work is, a lot of times right now we have these, what I call timeline incursions, things that show up in our lives and literally knock us off our path. For some of them, they will, have to do with latent traumas that we're not dealing with. But right now, the Earth Star chakra, and I'm going to pull out my little pointer and we're going to bring it right down to the bottom of the screen down here. When I bring my pointer down here, a little thing pops up, so I can't see it too well, but hopefully you guys can see that little pointer down there at the bottom of the screen. And what that is your Earth Star chakra. We're going to be doing some timeline work a little bit later with some of the energy work that we're doing, but it's important for you to understand that there is an actual place on your body in which your energy field tends to connect or plug in to this physical earth grid. And what do I mean by physical earth grid? I mean the physical layers of dimensional energy that exist within this Gaia earth realm that we walk around on. Some people describe them as ley lines. Some people just talk about an actual grid. There's a number of energetic systems that exist beneath our feet within the layers of the earth. And right now the Earth Star chakra is becoming incredibly active for people. But what will happen? Let's say, let's just say hypothetically we have a blockage or some sort of energetic compressed emotion underneath the body existing within, possibly even the root chakra. If you look up here, you guys, you'll see that root chakra, survival instincts, physical needs. Some people will be coming to these stages of disconnection in which they'll have this great upsurgence of lack programming, ungroundedness, inability to center their energy. Very, very difficult time focusing on day-to-day things. In some cases, that can be due to, you know, almost like you're unplugged from that charger and your energy body's kind of, you know, just moving or flailing. For some people that experience earth chakra disconnectivity, or excuse me, earth star chakra disconnectivity, we can end up feeling like that, very disconnected, not a part of, dissociated from the body. Along with that, we can have, you know, the flip side of that, in which we're incredibly affected, in which all of our empathic abilities are on 10, and, you know, everything in the world is just hitting us, and we feel everything, and you go into the store and you just get bombarded by other people's energy. Where does that come from? Well, a number of places, but for a lot of us, you guys, this is an interaction right now on a collective level of an activation centering around what we call the high heart, the thymic chakra, right in between the throat chakra there and the heart chakra. If you guys look over on the screen there, you just see this little guy right here. Now, what's interesting about the high heart or the thymic chakra is that in my, you know, research and understanding, and I think others as well, we understand that some of these chakras, or the tertiary, rather secondary layers of the chakra system in the body, actually exist outside of your physical body. They'll be within this energy field outside of you. And as we move through these layers of consciousness, the high heart chakra is kind of like a microphone. It's kind of like a trigger. It's kind of like this receiving kind of energetic node that connects to a very specific layer of the fourth density body, having to do with enhanced empathy, enhanced emotional connection, both positive and negative. It's like this is your empathic kind of microphone, this receiving place right here. It connects right into the heart chakra, which is the largest electromagnetic conductor on the human body. It connects right up with your throat chakra, which is your communication center. And so right now, a lot of us on a collective level are experiencing these activations of the thymic chakra that has, for many of us, our empathic abilities turned up to 10 or 11. We're incredibly affected by other people's energy. And that's often because this interacts with a couple of subtle layers of the body, such as the pericardium meridian, such as the lung meridian, areas on our body that can be responsible for programming energy, programming emotion, holding on to grief. Very, very interesting structures. But why do we need to be made aware of this? Because this is one of the areas on your body that is being affected empathically by other people's energy, much, much more so than it was years ago. If you're experiencing really enhanced empathy right now, this is going to be a good place for you to study and understand and do some research online about. That's the high heart chakra. But let's move on before I go on a long tangent. Along with that, we'll just bring our focus up to the very top of this screen here. The soul star, higher crown, what I believe is one of the elements of what people call the alta major chakra kind of trio, which is, in my experience, kind of almost a triangle of energetic like connections at the top of the head, one in the front being the third eye, the back being the cerebellum chakra, and the top of the head, I believe that's the 8th or 9th chakra, which is what people call the soul star chakra. Now, as we move through layers of consciousness in the human experience and we reach that high heart or thymic chakra, that's often a gateway. That's a gateway into a higher dimensional layer of your body in which many of us experience expanded downloads, expanded dimensional contacts. When that soul star chakra begins to activate and open up, some of us begin to experience DNA activation, really abrupt changes in your lifestyles, motivations, career shifts, entire new mission stages of your life can come into your consciousness or be activated when this soul star chakra, you know, opens up. I believe it's, you know, partially one of the reasons why I got hit with such a massive, you know, whirlwind series of activations between 2012 and 2015 and onward. A lot of that has to do with an opening that's occurring for many of us in this primary soul group, right up at the top of the body, right up here. I guarantee you some of you guys that are watching this right now are feeling a little bit of a stirring or a sensation up there. But these are just areas that you need to be made aware of. As we move into fourth density, you guys, a process that's already happening, these areas on your body, in some cases, are going to be incredibly, incredibly active. And so, you know, what are some of the signs of these things acting up or activating or you know, just working, becoming more alive within the layers of the dimensional body? And, you know, expanded intuitive abilities. We've already talked about that. Empathic interfacing, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairaudience, clairsentience, all of the clairs, quote unquote, those psychic skills that are literally innate and given to each of us. Those begin to activate primarily, in my experience and understanding, when we reach that high heart, that thymic chakra. That's quite literally like this empathic switch for a lot of us, not everyone. There's other areas like your intestinal meridians that have an incredible amount to do with the intuitive abilities in your body. But along with these things, you know, psychic gifts begin to activate, DNA begins to activate in your body, and that's a whole other conversation. You guys can do your own research on the true nature of DNA activation, but it's a literal thing that happens. For those of us that have experienced great physical changes of the body in the past 10 years, it's one of the things you can look for as a 3D example of DNA activation. People that suddenly have this wild physical shift. They may seem to age in reverse all of a sudden. Their bodies will change, their faces will change, certain health issues will fade away. In some cases, new ones will activate. It's an ongoing process that many of us are going through right now. So these are just some of the areas, some of the things within the chakra system that are happening. We're going to be talking more in detail about this as time goes on, but at this stage of our collective evolution, it's critical that we become aware of the phenomenon of negative energetic manifestations, which we're going to be talking about more in a few minutes, and to the level to which our developing chakra system can be affected by a host of conditions. Emotional energy blockage, frequency interference, etheric attachment, and even implantation are very real in what we call the maladies of the starseed. And I don't know, maybe that's a term that other people are using, you guys, but I like to call the maladies of the starseed the conditions that we agree to come in here with, the handicaps, those issues that we were born with, some of them karmic, some of them ancestral, some of them choice-related contracts that we come in. But oftentimes it's the level to which we agree to be victimized, addicted, abused. We'll have very interesting conditions placed upon our, you know, our bodies or our timelines or our paths or our experience here. And for each of us, it's a different series of things, but oftentimes these are examples or just examples of experiences or catalysts toward growth that we create for ourselves prior to incarnating. The maladies of the starseed are just some of the examples of, I guess we could say, you know, greater catalysts. Or anyway, I'm getting a little redundant, so we're gonna move on to the next slide. As we move on, we go down to the Meridian System, and so I've already referenced the meridians, you know, several times in this thing today, but these are tricky structures. The reality is, if you know, like if you take an X-ray of your body right now, you're not gonna find like a kidney, say like meridian, you're not gonna find a heart chakra. Those things are not gonna show up on, you know, an MRI. They're not gonna show up on any of these other, you know, third density biofeedback monitors. But what they are the energetic circuitry of our body. Our meridians link our organs. They hold incredible amounts of emotional data, chi, energy, life essence. You know, along with the energetic advances in our chakras, the meridians are also undergoing great changes in frequency. And, you know, really what we might call energetic bandwidth. I love that term. This means your body is creating, storing, and circulating energy in greatly expanded ways. For some people, this can be a bewildering and difficult process, myself included. Creating awareness and understanding of these 12 primary structures is critical for the expanding energy body and releasing the blockages, the threads, and overlays that bind to our energy body in this 3D realm. And so if you look down on the screen down here, you guys, you'll notice these two heads down in the center here, these two side profiles. And the reason why I included those is because I think those are really good examples of, you know, just a visual depiction of a couple really important meridian structures in the body. And so what the meridian structures are doing for a lot of people right now is they're holding a lot of the remnants of, you know, energies from past lives, from past experiences, from individuals that we've picked up, a whole number of things. But along with holding our, you know, our emotional energy, they're also, you know, almost like plug-in points. They're circuitry. They're dimensional layers of the body that, while they're not necessarily physical on the third density realm, this is literally your etheric and energetic kind of, you know, wiring. And so if you look down here on the screen, you'll notice the gallbladder meridian. And no, there's not a, you know, I didn't put the name there. We're just looking at the structure of it. But look at this interesting and wild circuit, this loop that this thing runs around the side of your head. And if you look over here right next to it, you see a slightly more simplistic depiction. of something else known as the triple heater or the triple warmer meridian. And what these things do is circulate a tremendous amount of emotional and energetic data in the body, primarily the gallbladder right now for a lot of us on a collective level due to the heavy metal toxicity and buildup of emotion in the upper chakras. The gallbladder meridian is a very, very easy place to kind of hold on to and understand with respect to, just trying to figure out energy in the body. And why is that? Because the gallbladder meridian has ability to just run this running loop of thoughts, of emotions, of ideas, of obsessions through your body. The triple heater is when that energy becomes physical. It works energy through 3 kind of primary chambers or layers or areas of the body. And what happens is what you see, what you hear, what comes in through the, the eyes as the window of the soul, a tremendous amount of energy. And this circulates through these subtle structures, these systems, this invisible wiring in your body, almost like plumbing. And as we activate those empathic structures, as we move through the layers of the dimensional body, like, the thymic chakra right here, the third eye chakra, the heart chakra, as our dimensional energy moves through these, it also moves through the meridians. And so right now, a lot of us are walking around with a tremendous amount of blockage, lack of discernment, loss of clarity, ability to be influenced by technology or other people's emotional energy due to a buildup of an incredible amount of stuff in these subtle layers, these wiring systems. And so just a little bit more about the meridians as I go on a weird tangent here. A lot of interactivity between our chakras, our organs, our meridians, our emotions, just like the heart chakra, the pericardium, which we talked about. And especially the phenomenon of emotional pH balance, which I'm going to talk about for a moment here. A lot of us, as we go through this awakening process, we find at certain stages that we will continually attract certain things or certain people. We'll have this cyclical series of events that happens in our life. And a lot of us even make statements like, every time this happens and this happens, every time I feel like this, then this. And it's like this series, this ongoing cyclical loop of things. For some people, one of the easiest ways to understand this is in the, the narcissist empath relationship kind of dynamics, in which some of us have noticed that we've had a tendency to attract or pull in or even be attracted to certain personality types, certain archetypes, or, just certain people that will have issues that won't really be good for us, but we end up walking back into these situations over and over and over again. We may have issues with manifesting, jobs or abundance or any other number of things. And one of the ways we understand the phenomenon of emotional pH in the body is it's quite literally this energy field that's hanging out within the plasma layers around the heart chakra that's set up to attract whatever the most prevailing frequency is. And if we're still dealing with an incredible amount of trauma or just unacknowledged energy or just unresolved family of origin drama that we're still playing back through the, the structures in the gallbladder, the liver, the urinary bladder, all these subtle wiring networks around the, the upper chakras, as that moves through the body and we hit the heart chakra, those frequencies begin to attract, they begin to repulse, we begin to pull in things. It's almost like the field, those crops are set up to just grow certain things. And so as we understand or begin to understand the phenomenon of energetic pH, we learned that our heart chakra, this electromagnetic center of our body, repulses, it draws in, and we have the ability to program those layers so that we can change what we're attracting. And so that's what we're talking about with the phenomenon of emotional pH. Along with that, we have an incredible amount of energy supplied to our body through these central channels. If you guys want to look over here on the screen, you'll see just these lines that run up and down the center of the body. And this is a very, very surface layer description of the importance of these structures of the meridians in the body. But we have a governing vessel that supplies energy or chi up the back. This is where a lot of the kundalini energy begins to circulate and move through the body. It pulls it up the back and down the front, joining with the conception vessel. And what it does is it creates this circular pattern of energy in the body that begins to supply, begins to send emotion, it begins to send signals and frequencies to all these other subtle layers, all these energetic pathways like the kidney, the liver, the spleen, all of these things that interact with our organs, they play off our emotions. And it's very important that we begin to generate awareness of these subtle structures. Now, in a short time, we're going to be going through an energy clearing in which we're going to be working through a little bit of these. But right now, we're just talking about some of the surface layer energy. And so any blockages, attachments, implantation. These are extremely common along these pathways, especially for those of us that are expanding into our multi-dimensional sensory system, or really anyone that's experienced any type of extreme trauma that's gone unexpressed in the body. When we begin to understand the subtle interplay between our chakras, our meridians, and other elements of our energetic circuitry, we begin to receive or understand clear examples of what's my energy and what's your energy, allowing us this unique opportunity toward understanding the frequency of truth and what it feels like when we're being affected by an outside frequency. In my opinion and experience, creating clarity and moving energy through these layers of dimensional plumbing and wiring known as the meridians are one of the #1 ways in which you can really clear out the energetic structures in the body and create an opening toward the understanding of really what your energy is. It's like you clear everyone else out and suddenly we begin to experience ourselves in a different way. But we're gonna move on before I go even farther down a rabbit hole with that. And we'll just get even a little weirder. If we haven't gotten weird enough already, you guys, we're gonna make it even stranger. Let's talk about implants. Specifically implants, because this is a really big thing right now, you guys. All you gotta do is, watch the movies, go online, go on anything, any element of social media. And inevitably, this is such a hot button topic right now. It's very cool and popular to talk about, and incredible amount of misconceptions once again. But let's just give a surface layer understanding of what some of this technology is and how it works and what's going on. And we'll just say it, the term etheric implant refers to the multidimensional or non-physical technology that exists just outside of our visible spectrum of light. So what that means is you can quite literally have a very physical thing, a thing that exists within the physical realm, but it will be on a frequency that is outside of our visibility, just outside of our ability to touch it, just outside of, our ability to say, hey, look, there's a thing attached, right outside my energy body here. But what we will do is we will experience the effects of it, the emotions. We'll experience what the changes and the effects that it has on our energy system. And so the primary purpose behind the existence and use of this technology is to assist with the ongoing enslavement of humanity and the suppression of our consciousness by keeping us in a never-ending loop of trauma and disempowered emotional toxicity. This is often done by implanting pieces of etheric technology, like I just mentioned, within the subtle layers of our energy body, which we just talked about, the chakras, the meridians. The reason why we started by going into those things is to give you guys an example of where these pieces of non-physical technology may be within the body. It's not going to be within your liver. Most of the time, you guys, I'm just going to be straight up. And I say this as a person that literally has a physical implant in my body at this moment. Many of us do. But at this stage of the game, the reality of implantation, you guys, is that, these ET groups, no one needs to put a physical device in your body anymore. They can literally control your consciousness or create changes within you just by, placing something etherically within your, sphere of influence, within your realm, within your car, within your home. There's a number of places. We'll get more specific on that. But what these do is they act as amplifiers, siphon points, energetic roadblocks, holographic overlays. Yes, that's a thing. And even entities or parasites that can create a wide variety of negative manifestations. And so, like we said before, entity and spirit attachments often take root in specific chakras or a meridian that will have a vibratory relationship with a certain type of trauma, emotion, and experience that we've had in this life or in past, and sometimes even future lives, if you want to get even more technical and weird. But these will often appear as cords of energy, threads, chains, anything that might, show up as a connective element. Sometimes these cords can extend outside of the body to an entity itself and may even appear as black spots or, elements of dark miasmatic energy within the energy field. Entity attachments, which are also real, but I'm also going to tell you guys, in my opinion, less common than people will talk about. It's almost an everyday basis that I shouldn't say every day, but usually several times a week I'll encounter people, within the space of working with clients in which, will be dead set on the idea that there's this sort of entity attachment or this being, or, in some cases it's this, it's like a reptilian or like a Draco being or some form of an entity. entity that is attached to us. And while that is entirely possible, for a lot of us, these things are manifested and created or represented or shown up within our consciousness as these things due to the nature or the specificity of whatever our unhealed trauma is. For those of us that will get really, really stuck in the story of not facing these things and not really, really looking at, you know, what needs to be healed in us, a lot of us can down the road begin to experience these strange manifestations in which those traumas and those things that we have not dealt with begin to represent themselves in the form of our internal realm as, you know, beings or implants or technology or entities that will attach to us. And so they are absolutely real. But getting back to the subject matter here, entity attachments influence human behavior in an attempt to extract loosh. Many of us know this term by now, negative emotional energy, to really just create a state of disempowerment and disconnection from the divinity within ourselves. What that means is that the basic idea behind this is a disconnection with you, a disconnection or a lack of embodiment, a giving away of your sovereignty, your emotions, your energy to something other than you. And what that something is, quote unquote, will be different for every single one of us. But right now, it's important to understand that the level to which we are affected by non-physical technology or implants or entities or attachments or whatever you want to call it within that realm is almost always directly proportionate to the level to which we still have unresolved emotional wounds or traumas or anything that we haven't dealt with in our body. There's quite literally like a bait frequency that a lot of us will have that can draw these things toward us. So we're going to go ahead and move on here. But what else do we need to know right now? We talked a little bit in broad strokes about the phenomenon of, you know, implantation, just a little bit about where these things go. We've talked about some of the structures in the body, the meridians. We talked about our chakras, about, you know, just the subtle layers, the things that aren't going to be picked up, the things that you're not going to be, you know, necessarily aware of on an everyday basis, but that we're being affected by constantly. And one of the things we really need to know right now, in my opinion, one of the things that's been incredibly important for me is our lymphatic system, the phenomenon of, you know, AI or artificial intelligence. And especially environmental factors such as 5G or frequency disruption, frequency interference, whatever we want to call it. Let me just move my little camera screen out of the way here so I can see what I wrote. But one of the things we need to be made aware of with respect to AI implantation, frequency interference, voice-to-skull technology, or any other forms of mind control targeting technology is the way it interacts with heavy metals, frequency interference, and our lymphatic system. But let's just define a little bit about what these things are. Frequency interference, you guys, is oftentimes what we call the level to which we are affected by these 5G, Bluetooth, you know, frequencies that are transmitted by cell phone towers, by technology, by our televisions, by our cars, by devices embedded in the walls in public places and certain stores and retail outlets throughout places all over America and the world, outputting this, you know, this very interesting and in some places very predatory or difficult frequency onto the human body. Some of us notice our emotions change. We begin to get cancer. Some of us begin to get sick. We begin to develop strange symptoms. What happens is these are interacting with heavy metal particulate matter that's coming to us through weaponized food, through the chemtrails being sprayed over our heads, through the water that we are drinking. And what's happening is these things are building up in specific places in the human body. One of the reasons why, and for those of you guys that have, you know, encountered me in other workshops or lives, I always talk about, you know, a need to detox the body from heavy metals. And why is that? Why is that? Because right now, as we, you know, are right about to activate 5G, right as, you know, we're about to, you know, continue to move through an additional, you know, dimensional layers within the human body, one of the things that's activating, one of the things that's incredibly influenced by frequencies right now is your lymphatic system, you guys. Your lymphatic system, a literal aquarium, a plumbing system running throughout your body. It vibrates with sound. It vibrates with emotion. For those of you guys that have heard of the military technology known as the active denial system, what that is a non-lethal piece of crowd control technology. I believe it was developed in Southern California, I think in the 1990s. And what it does is it beams out this, what's basically a frequency wave. I believe it's in like a 95 hertz range or something like that. But what it does is it interacts with a very particular layer of the human body. One of those places is the lymphatic system. And if you look over here to the left, you look at these veins, these pathways, this plumbing system, and what happens is these active denial frequencies interact with the lymphatic ducts, with these pathways, and this causes the body to begin to heat up or to have the sensation of heating up. It creates a vibratory state within the human body that creates extreme pain. What happens is this is maybe about 5 hertz away from the 5G frequency that everyone, in, modern day America is so excited about getting and, like receiving their updated version of the internet. For those of us that are aware and understand what this frequency range does, one of the things is it interacts with your lymphatic system. And so along with the buildup of toxic heavy metal around the upper chakras, mixing with spinal fluid and lymph from your lymphatic system, the heavy metal buildup, reaches and just kind of worms its way through all these layers of the dimensional and the physical body. And what happens is over time, it creates a critical mass, a buildup in the body. Specifically, for those of you guys that have encountered me in, individual clearings or energy work, a lot of us get these rings, these blocked up kind of rings of energy around our head, literally right around here, sometimes at the top of the head. Some of this is due to the buildup or a critical mass of heavy metal toxicity within the body that can create an almost, in some cases, a literal remote control influencing thing over the human body. They can be used to, create a number of physical processes, pain responses. It can be used to induce orgasm in some people. It can be used to, cause you to urinate, to lose your bowels, all sorts of things. When these frequencies hit the human body, they interact with the lymphatic system. It's a literal vibratory aquarium of fluid surrounding the layers of your body. And so it's very important that we're aware of how this thing is being affected as we progress into fourth density, because these frequencies pull up and interact with this lymphatic fluid. And so it's very important that we begin to circulate that lymph through your body. One of the reasons why, you guys, we are so affected with our discernment centers, our ability to kind of move forward, our ability to use our intuition, our ability to activate the pineal gland and, use that dimensional vision, is because I think more than half of the, 700 something lymph nodes in the body are actually above your chest, right here, above, within the head and neck, lining these areas right next to the vagus nerve. Interesting structures within the human body that have a vibratory impact on our emotions, on your energy. And if this lymph fluid is either like contaminated or slow moving or built up with heavy metal toxicity, in some cases nanotechnology, it can be used or mobilized to quite literally create a remote controlled human being, have your emotions influenced, your urges influenced. And so you guys are gaining awareness of some of the subtle interactions of the lymphatic system and the ways in which we can be affected by dimensional energy within these things in the body. And so as we go through the energy clearing in a little while, you guys, I want to bring your attention down here to this guy on the left. This big thing called the cisterna chyli right here. See this big sac of lymph right in the center of your body? It's right at your solar plexus, right in the middle. We talked about our multidimensional chakra expansion earlier. We kind of skipped over the solar plexus, but the solar plexus houses this storehouse, like this turbine of energy within your body pertaining to ancestral forces, karmic forces, intuitive abilities. It's like this storehouse of energy. And right in front of that, you have this thing called the cisterna chyli. I believe it's the second largest lymph node in the body, or I believe it's the largest lymph node actually, but I think the spleen actually does a bit more. But what it is almost like this little water balloon inside your belly, and it vibrates with sound. It vibrates with emotion. And for those of us that are caught up with this inability to move forward, it's like we're always, thinking or being inspired or trying to act or trying to grow, and we keep getting pulled back with our toxicity and stagnancy in our lives. This is one of the areas that we're going to be moving energy through when we do scalar toning in a little while, opening up the lymph flow within the center of the body, allowing the solar plexus to expand. And I'm getting a signal to move on over there. So we're going to move on down to the next slide, but do some research on your lymphatic system, you guys. It's one of the most important and least talked about elements of energetic anatomy. So Allow that to sink in as we just keep rolling. We're just rolling on through, you guys. We're going to talk about some more stuff here, the vagus nerve. Let me just take a drink here. I know I'm rambling on. And for those of you guys that are hanging out, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I realize we're just blazing through this stuff, so we will be emailing this out to everyone afterward, the link for the recording. And in some cases, a couple of people have asked me for the slides. Those are also available as well. But let's just talk about some more of these structures in the body as I wave this little pointer around the screen. Let's talk about the vagus nerve. This is incredibly important for those of you guys that have a lot of latent trauma in the body, that will have these, you know, automatic kind of reactivations of core wounds. You'll have this really, really deep kind of latent fear that sometimes circulates through the body and you don't know where it comes from. You'll have incredible exhaustion, a whole bunch of interesting things, autoimmune systems. The vagus nerve is a really, really interesting and bizarre structure in the body, but as the longest and most complex of our 12 primary cranial nerves, the vagus nerve plays a very special role in understanding and interacting with energies of all kinds in the human body. This pair of nerves connects the brain to the internal organs, sending information bidirectionally, 2 ways, back and forth between the brain, the gut, the organs, everything in your body. And if you look down here, you notice the vagus nerve literally, it just works its way through everything. One of the ways I've described the vagus nerve, you guys, it's a strange kind of like a metaphor for the vagus nerve, or a strange image, but I was doing work with a client not too long ago, and I just kind of came to this realization or this feeling that this vagus nerve for a lot of us presents, and this is going to be strange for you guys, but almost like a ceiling fan. And for a lot of you guys that have ceiling fans blowing around in your house, you'll notice at times when you turn that fan off, the blades might be kind of caked with dirt or dust, or it'll have this residue on the blades. And, you know, you'll turn the fan on later and it still blows air. Just like the vagus nerve still transmits energy through the body, that fan in your house still blows air through the room, but every once in a while you'll turn it up real high all the way. It'll get real hot. It'll get real intense in your house, and you'll turn that fan up all the way, and you might notice little bits of dust or debris or things begin to break off from that structure, just like elements of trauma, other people's energy, non-organic energy that can affect the vagus nerve. And little bits of that stuff kind of breaks off, and just like the ceiling fan circulates that air all around your room, that vagus nerve circulates that emotion or that residue or that piece of energy or that frequency all the way through your organs. And what happens is it interacts with the organs on that 4th density energy level. And I realize we've already talked about this, but if you're not aware, your organs are ascending as well. Your organs are also moving into 4th density. And so what that means is there's an additional layer of energy, of emotion existing around your organs in a way that they weren't before. We're interacting with every single element of our human body on another level at this stage of the game. And the vagus nerve is incredibly important because it carries this frequency, this vibration, just like that ceiling fan, you know, blows those bits of contaminants around the room. If the vagus nerve is attached or shut down in some places, I had a person come to me recently mentioning that I believe that they had actually had the vagus nerve cut or removed during some sort of a medical procedure. This can create a whole host of strange things in the body. And for each of us, it's a little bit different. But when we have trauma or sometimes implantation or attachment along the vagus nerve pathway, this can create things like adrenal fatigue, exhaustion, sudden onset of weird autoimmune symptoms, shutdown of intuitive signals from the solar plexus, the gut, intestinal meridians. Why is that? Because the vagus nerve connects to all of those things. And if we're in shutdown mode, or if we're in fight or flight mode, it's going to turn off certain things, certain things that might not be relevant in the moment, deactivating certain elements of, you know, our nervous system and whatnot. But what happens is this interacts with involuntary playback of latent traumatic experiences, and, you know, in places of the body known as the psoas, which, you know, we might talk about a little bit in a little while. The liver, the spleen, the kidneys, all of our organs, like I mentioned, are carrying this additional layer of dimensional and emotional energy. And the vagus nerve has an effect, this vibratory impact on each of those things. It's one of the structures in the body that can be attached or implanted to the level that it will literally cause you to have some kind of a shutdown, emotional shutdown, inappropriate emotional reaction, paradoxical emotional reaction. Sometimes you'll see people that have these very, very strange kind of laughing fits, or these, it's almost like an automatic kind of reverse emotional, reaction. In some cases, that can be due to the vagus nerve vibrational states being, somehow affected or exacerbated. But before I go off on a weird tangent, you guys, this can have a number of effects on the body. But along with that, let's talk about something else. This is not just about the vagus nerve right now, but also another very key structure, a physical item in the body known as the sphenoid bone. The sphenoid bone is incredibly important for a lot of us right now. And why is that? We're going to be doing some work on it in a little while, but it connects to the gallbladder. It connects to the third eye chakra. It connects to a number of the meridian structures in the body. Many things intersect and coalesce at the sphenoid. And what that is this fibrous, kind of porous membrane bone. If you guys aren't aware, your skull's not all one piece. There's various plates or layers in the sphenoid, you guys. This little butterfly-shaped bone right here in the center of your head. And why is this important? Because it vibrates. It vibrates like a bell. It vibrates with intention. It vibrates with sound. In my opinion and experience, you guys, you've probably heard me say this before if you've seen anything else I've done. I believe in my work, the sphenoid is one of the primary entrance points and exit points for, energy in the body, but it's also one of the easiest places to move energy in and out of your body. These are like plug-in points. Things come in here, things come out here. They talk about how the eyes are the window to the soul. Well, there's a vibrating bony plate right behind them that literally vibrates like a bell with emotion. It can also be heavily affected by other frequencies. It's a very, very interesting structure, but it's all part of our etheric antenna system. It connects, with the third eye chakra, with the alta major kind of trio that extends to the back of the head and the top of the head. It's like an antenna. And this is one of the physical layers of your body. We're talking about nerve structures, you guys. We're talking about non-physical structures. And we're also talking about physical elements of your body, an actual bone, a thing that is expanding and changing along with your consciousness. And one of the ways it's doing that is in its new response or its expanded response to physical vibrations. And so we need to be aware of the sphenoid. We're going to be working with that during our scalar toning energy clearing that we're doing in just a little while. What we're doing, you guys, is we're just giving you examples. We're giving you pieces of information, little kind of puzzle pieces along the journey that are going to help you understand little bits about why you react this way, about why you feel that way, about, why you feel this way when this person's in the room. When you encounter someone that's highly enraged or incredibly triggered and you feel their energy, you feel that fear response, that rage, whatever that is. If you're having, adrenal fatigue, one of the things that can be affected, is the vagus nerve, is the kidneys, the adrenal glands. All of these things interact along this subtle pathway with something like the vagus nerve. And you can see that drawing right down there. Boom, connects right over to the kidneys. It's as if this vibratory structure in your body just runs its way through everything. And if there was a dimensional force or something that wanted to completely deactivate or wear down the human body, it'd be really easy just to plug in right on the side of your neck right there. Right here along the vagus nerve pathway, send a predatory signal or some form of difficult frequency in there and literally deactivate elements of your consciousness, exacerbate difficult emotions, all sorts of things. And so we're just generating awareness, you guys, these subtle structures within the human body. And so let's just move on. We're going to move down the line here, talk about some other stuff. And what's this crazy guy? Look at this skeleton guy here. Some of you guys have heard me, some of you guys have heard me talk about the psoas. A lot of people are talking about this right now. I think it might be either the largest or one of the 2 or 3 largest muscles in the body. But if you notice what it is, you guys, the psoas connects your legs, it connects your hip, it holds your legs to your spine. And from a basic perspective, the psoas is a muscle that connects your legs to your spine and supports your diaphragm. From an energetic perspective, this thing is incredibly important because it literally acts as a cellular recording device, holding and replaying the energy of unresolved emotional, physical, sexual trauma. It's a very, very interesting structure, you guys. It has been called our emotional core due to its direct connectivity with the energy process in the 3 lower chakras, the root chakra, sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra. some of, kind of what we would call from the lens of old school psychology, the hierarchy of needs, or that pyramid-like structure that we talk about that comprises that kind of like stability kind of concepts and structures in our day-to-day life. The psoas relates directly to those. From an energetic or emotional perspective, though, this is literally a cellular recording device. It's like a disk drive in your body. I think somebody called it a bioelectric kind of mass of living tissue in your body. And so what that means is it quite literally holds elements of unresolved trauma. It's like this little tape that at certain times in our life, when we open up the pelvic floor, we begin to do exercises, we begin to do certain types of yoga, we begin to create layers of physical change in the body. The psoas muscle can begin to flex, begin to stretch, begin to open up. And what can happen is it can create involuntary playback. It's like it can cause people to become physically ill, to have this emotional shutdown, to become unable to move. They can vomit. They can have this, almost like these relapses or playbacks of old traumas. Sometimes it'll literally be past life events that have been brought into this physical body in the course of this physical incarnation, contained within the psoas for the express purpose of you coming to a point in which you're able to open up that frequency in the body and just allow that stuff to pour out. For some people, in the context of the energy clearing that experience that psoas opening, or what sometimes is an opening within the solar plexus, those are those times in which we experience that great gushing of emotion. It's as if someone pulled the plug on the bathtub and our body begins to shake and kind of, move, and, we have these almost, it's like a convulsion effect, and old emotion pours out of the body. And for those of you that have experienced anything similar to that, sometimes that's due to an incredibly amount of compressed traumatic emotion in the psoas. For some people, I think someone even just messaged me today asking about that, or tightness within that area can cause misalignment in the hips, can cause one side to be higher than the other, can cause interesting, bowing effects within the back or the spinal column. And a lot of that's due to the tightening, the closing up, the extreme tightening of that psoas muscle. And so it's very important that we begin to open, gently exercise, gently deal with the trauma, and really expand the energy within this physical layer of our body. The reason why, you guys, why is this psoas so important? Why is this one muscle so important? There's a number of areas in our body that hold trauma, but the reason why this is important for a lot of us on a collective level right now is because this is a common location for sexual misery implantation, holographic trauma insertion, victimizer technology, pieces of etheric technology that can be placed within the layers of the energy body, like siphon points for parasitic entities. What happens is they're able to trigger reactivation of old wounds in a repetitive loop. Oftentimes, you guys, right as you're about to make big moves in your life, you're about to do something to benefit yourself, you're about to create change or growth or move forward, to make bold moves, to change your timeline, to move into new versions of yourself, to heal or grow. What happens is, for those of us that can have certain types of implantation, old wounds, or just energy blocked in there, it just reactivates. It stops us in our tracks. And a lot of us go into this repeating cycle of trauma and just like depression, anxiety. And, those things are caused oftentimes by the root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra, and just old energy activated along these pathways, along with trauma signals in the psoas. And what happens is, you guys, people that have this, it just keeps us in this never-ending loop, cycles of negative self-manifestation, host of other issues. Just something very important to be made aware of. One of the things you can do is Google TRE, or trauma release exercises, on YouTube if you want to know specific ways in which you can open up the psoas. There's a number of people working with it right now. But yeah, we need to be made aware of this. This is where a lot of, humanity's collective trauma is being stored within the layers of your body. And so clear this structure and really, really clear up your emotional discernment. Clear up the level to which you're able to be affected by other types of, entities, energies, other people's emotions, et cetera, et cetera. So we're just generating awareness here. So we've talked about some of the structures in the body. We talked about some of the, you know, surface level information about certain types of manifestations and layers of your dimensional body that are activating right now. We've talked a little bit about, you know, some of the ways in which you can be affected. We've talked about, you know, physical areas of your body, actual nerve structures, muscle groups, bones, dimensional layers. We have a little bit of information and awareness with which to understand just, you know, some of the strange, subtle frequencies occurring in your body. And so now that we've learned a bit about that, let's take this stuff to the next level. Armed with this new awareness, we're now going to go through a group clearing process designed to assist with the release of dead or stagnant energy and the activation of new multi-dimensional frequencies. One of the most exciting and misunderstood elements of our experience in this realm, you guys, has to do with the concept of, you know, switching or jumping timelines. And from the perspective of our 3D realm, we viewed time as this linear construct, moving from point A to point B across a finite plane of existence or physical experience. The reality is, you guys, you know, from the perspective of fourth and fifth density consciousness, time as we know it, this is a fluid construct. In my opinion, I believe time is sentient. I believe it has a consciousness. I believe we are interacting with it. I believe it is also ascending along with us. I believe that every single element of our dimensional realm is going through a great shift right now. And along with that, we are also experiencing a shift in the method or the ways in which we measure or experience time. A lot of us, or certain members within our soul group, have become aware of the level to which we've shifted from this 1260 time frequency to something called, I believe, the 1320 time frequency, corresponding with a shift in the Gregorian calendar, which I think came about, I believe, in the 1500s or 1600s or something way back in the day. But what it corresponds with is the method by which we measure the passage of time in our physical bodies. And, you know, like the 24-hour day or the 60-second minute or whatever it is, it has shifted. Time as we know it has changed and is changing along with us. And right now, you guys, we're able to experience, alter, change our, you know, our vibrational kind of pathway. And what happens is that's what allows us, you know, quote unquote, switching timelines, moving into another vibratory frequency, kind of like we're going to turn the dial on the radio station and we're just going to turn that frequency over to a different channel, a different station. Those are just some of the very, very simplistic, you know, ways in which we can kind of understand, you know, elements of timeline mechanics. What we're doing today is we're going to be harmonizing, shifting our physical bodies, creating a frequency and a wavelength in the body that not only clears away dead energy, but also assists you in creating and anchoring to your own timeline, to your own outcome, that optimal version of you that you're trying to create. We're moving a little bit closer to that today by harmonizing our bodies. And so today we'll be learning how to tune that mind-body-spirit complex to a new frequency, like I just said, new vibratory state of being, synchronizing our energy fields, then creating and holding the vibration of activation, expansion, empowerment. We're going to go ahead and begin. And so before we go into a focused state, I'd like to bring your attention over to the statement, a very simple statement that we've written on the left side of the screen over here. And what this is we're going to be giving ourselves a special layer of authorization, a special layer of, you know, permission to really receive, to truly, truly receive. And so from this moment forward, what I'd like each and every one of you to do is just begin to settle in your chair or your seat or wherever you are. Hopefully you're not driving your car on the freeway or you're not at work in a cubicle. But even if you are, that's okay. We're going to do our best to focus. But one of the things we're going to do as we allow our body to settle in is let's just take a look at this statement over here on the left-hand side of the screen. And what I'd like you to do is just say it to yourself as I read it. You may choose to read it out loud if you want to, but you don't have to. What you're doing is you're stating this to yourself. Making an agreement with yourself. Creating an authorization with yourself. And so I'm going to count from 3 to 1, and we're all just going to take a deep breath in together. We're going to do this as a group. So let's do this now. 3, 2, 1, deep breath in. In the name of the one infinite creator, I allow this healing energy to release or remove any energetic or emotional toxicity from my body, mind, or spirit, known or unknown, in this life or beyond. I now align myself with the timeline of my highest good, with the path of ascension and the full realization of my chosen mission in this earth plane. I offer myself in service of the one infinite creator, that I may be a vessel of eternal light and love. And so if you're ready, guys, I'd like you to just very gently close your eyes. Take a deep, slow breath in. And today as a group, we just begin with synchronizing and expanding our energy into this fourth dimensional space. So with your eyes closed, we're going to very gently begin a very deliberate type of deep breathing down in your belly. And for those of you that have done individual sessions with me, you'll be familiar with this practice. But what we're going to be doing today is just gently and completely inflating your body and your belly like a balloon or a basketball. You're just completely filling up your body with air. And as you exhale, I'd like you all to just gently and completely deflate that balloon inside you. Continue to breathe in this deep, exaggerated, yet relaxed fashion. What you're doing is you're priming that energetic pump inside you. You're flexing that energetic vessel, allowing your body, preparing it to receive energy in a new way. Acknowledge as you're doing this deep, exaggerated breathing that there's a group of people along with you all over the world in this very moment going through the exact same process. A group of wanderers or beings that you've incarnated with at other times, other lifetimes, all working toward the same thing on the same missions, expanding their consciousness, moving into the next version of yourself. So in the next few moments, I'll count from 3 to 1, and as a group, we're going to take a deep breath in, all the way in, completely filling the body, acknowledging that we'll be synchronizing our energy fields. Acknowledging that we'll be synchronizing our heartbeat, synchronizing our respiration. Joining as one being, preparing to move toward that new timeline, releasing dead energy. Let's take a deep breath in, you guys. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Deep breath. Hold that breath. Hold it. And release it. Let it all the way down. Completely deflate that body. You're doing very well. Just keep that breath going. As we begin to settle in, and we're just going to start by bringing our collective attention as a group to a few areas on the body, a few popular stopping points or bottlenecks for energy and tension in the body. And as a group, let's just bring our attention and awareness all the way down into our hips, into the groin, into the pelvic regions of the body, into the muscle groups down at the bottom. Just bringing your awareness down there, and you don't even have to tell yourself to relax. You're just bringing your awareness down to your hips, the pelvic floor, understanding that as you do this, there's a group of people also placing their focus and energy in this area on their body. And just notice how it begins to give way as you breathe. Notice the relaxation. There you go, guys. Excellent. I'm starting to feel you come on like little lights in the darkness. And let's just bring our attention and just guide that up directly behind our rib cage, right in the center of your back, right in between your shoulder blades. Bring that up. Let's take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Hold that breath. And release. Completely deflate the body. Understand once again that you're in an act of synchronizing your energy fields, lining up your heartbeats, lining up your respirations. In the next few moments, we're just going to bring our attention up to your head, right at the top of your head. I can feel you guys already moving up there. Let's bring our attention to the top of our head, and we'll take one more deep breath. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Pull it up to the top of your head and hold it. Hold it. And release. All the way down. And in this moment, I'd like you to just allow your body to settle with the knowledge that you've synchronized your energy fields. You're entering into a 4th dimensional healing space for the purpose of activating, removing dead energy, and anchoring your timeline. I'd like you to just be aware of the emotions in your body. Be aware of the physical sensations. Be aware of your desire for change and advancement. And with your energy and attention up at the very top of your head, today we'll begin with the first of our primary tones, expanding the crown chakra, expanding the pineal glands, expanding the energy at your upper chakras and releasing tension and dead energy from the sphenoid bone, gallbladder, triple heater meridians. Today we'll begin our energy transmission with releasing and turning down that tense emotional volume inside your body. So for those of you that are with us here today, if you're able, please place your fingertips at your temples, right and left sides of your head. Begin to take some deep, slow breaths. And what I'd like you to do is just notice the memories, notice the emotions. Notice the information and pictures that rise up in your consciousness. In the next few moments, we will be creating a tone. Sounds like we're going to move this tone through your upper chakras, through your temples, through the sides of your head, and begin to release and detach any tense, dead emotions, any constantly running loops of energy in the body, creating emotional and mental clarity. And so once again, with your fingers at your temples, allow yourself to breathe. Open your consciousness and your body to the idea that you're beginning to work with a new healing modality, a new method of opening and clearing energy. I'd like you to just pretend and imagine that you're breathing from your temples or the sides of your head, or maybe a lot of us saw that cartoon when we were kids where they were breathing steam or smoke from their ears. You're just grabbing onto that image and you're using it in this moment. Just gently breathing from your temples, the sides of your head. So we reach out to all those guides, guardians, ancestors, family members, galactic family, the collection of soul group of beings gathered here today to assist us with expanding our consciousness and moving into the next phase of human evolution and the chosen mission of each of us here within this group. We honor you and thank you for your presence here today. In the next few moments, we'll be taking a deep breath in as a group and we'll move a tone through the upper chakras. I invite you to create this sound with me. If you're unable to, we will move the energy for you. But please do take agency, control, connect with your own energy body and expand your consciousness. Let's move a tone through those temples. Here we go. Deep breath in. Deep breath in as a group. Bring your attention and awareness to your temples. We disconnect in 3, 2, 1. Release that energy. Let your breath move freely. Just notice the change at the sides of your head. Notice the sensations at the top of your body. Notice the feeling behind your eyes. And as we go deeper, let's take another one of those deep breaths in. We'll do it as a group. We have a good flow going for those members that are here participating. Let's go deeper down into the body and release those additional layers of dead energy, reprogramming your heart chakra, reprogramming the pericardium, beginning to awaken those empathic signals, clearing up those structures within the high heart, the thymic chakra. Once again, let's take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Hold that breath. And exhale, blow it out. Allow yourself to just go right down into the top of your chest. Feel your body fall, feel it relax. Very good. Nice slow breath in. For those of us that are participating in the clearing, just gently place your fingers right at the top of your collarbone, right in the center of your chest, right at that little soft spot, right at the top. Let's connect with that thymic chakra, with the high heart chakra. Let's begin to move the energy of the lungs, the pericardium meridian. Once again, we'll take a deep breath in right into the center of our chest, right at the top. Let's get everyone lined up. You guys are doing very well. We'll take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Hold it. And release. Good job. So as we begin to program and release energy from this layer of the body, I'd like each of you to begin actively visualizing, daydreaming, fantasizing, thinking about, planning, whatever that is that you deeply desire, whatever it is you're trying to attract, whatever it is you want to pull into your life, whatever it is you want to manifest. And if you don't know what that is right now, focus on the feelings that you desire. Focus on those things, those feelings and those sensations that you wish to attract into your life. As we move a tone through the chest and the upper layers of the energy body, we're programming, harmonizing, and shifting the emotional pH of your body. We're setting up those crops. We're turning that magnet around. We're going to be growing new things. We're going to be attracting new energies. And so as we move this tone through the chest cavity, through the upper layers of the thymic and high heart chakra, it's very important for each one of us here to actively visualize and feel what we desire to create in the world. For many of us, this area of our body has been set up or damaged or used to attract just not the right things, not the right feelings, things that no longer serve us, elements of programming or emotions, old versions of us from the past that we no longer need. And so with the assistance and guidance of the higher self complex and those here working on behalf of the members of this group, we bring our attention and awareness right to the top of the chest. Very good. The next few moments, I'll count from 3 to 1. We'll take a deep breath in, and then we'll move a tone directly into the chest cavity, releasing, expanding, and reprogramming the plasma field around the body. Here we go. Let's begin to prime the body with some deep, slow breaths. For those of you with your hands at your chest, you can begin to move or tap, create circular movements here. Some of you may begin to feel old emotions, feel some old sensations. We just allow each and every reaction, each and every memory. This is old energy leaving your body. You're taking control, agency, directivity over your healing and expansion of your consciousness. Let's take one final deep breath in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Deep breath in as a group. Good job, right at your own pace. You guys are doing very well. I'm going to create some pop. Some of you are going to get a little tickle in your throat. If you need to cough, please let it out. Let your breathing, there you go. Deep, slow breaths, just acknowledging any of the emotion in the body, acknowledging any of the sensations, acknowledging any memories. There's another one. Good job, you guys. Very good. You're beginning to expand your energy in new ways. You're showing up on this map, this etheric grid as these bright lights. Your energy is popping up. Take a deep breath in. Acknowledge the sensations, the feelings, the desire. For some of you guys, you'll be feeling very relaxed. For others, you'll be feeling almost shaky and energized. Let's take a deep breath in together as a group. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Hold that breath. 3, 2, 1, let it go all the way down. As we exhale that breath as a group, we bring our attention and focus right down to the bottom of your rib cage, right in the center of your belly, right at that soft spot where your belly begins. For those of you that are participating in this healing, you can just take your hand and just very gently place it right over the top of your solar plexus. As we move through the layers of the dimensional body, expanding and opening up key energy centers, the thymus, high heart chakra, the upper chakras, the meridians in the upper parts of the energy body, we move down into the belly, down into the solar plexus as we begin to activate and open up those ancestral frequencies, those karmic frequencies, those versions of us and those old wounds that we've been carrying deep in this layer of the body. And as you bring your attention once again to the solar plexus, we'll take a deep breath in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Hold it right in your belly. Hold it. And release. Allow your energy to center. Allow your breathing to normalize. Bring your focus once again back into the body, back into your own internal realm. Bring it right down into the center of your belly. Understand that as you do this, a group of people all over the world are also connecting with this element of themselves, this internal structure in your body, with a desire to expand, a desire to awaken, the desire to become more than they've ever been in this life. Right now, as a group, we are plugged into this energy center within the body, directly responsible for creating the spiritual and energetic momentum guiding you toward the next version of yourself. As we acknowledge the energy of the solar plexus, we ask the higher self complex, the councils, the guides, the family members, the galactic family, those present here today assisting us with the expansion of consciousness and the liberation of mankind. Please step forward, place your hands upon the solar plexus. Allow those members of this group to expand themselves into that next stage of who they chose to become. Allow clarity, allow healing, allow direction and inspiration to enter these physical vessels in alignment with that chosen mission, that most optimal timeline. Once again, hold your hands at your solar plexus. We'll be taking a deep breath in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Deep breath in as a group. Go ahead and release that. Good job. Notice the energy moving into your belly. Notice the emotions. Notice any tremors or twitches or feelings in your body as your energy expands, as your lymph irrigates, as that cisterna chyli opens up and begins to pass fluid above and below the body, recirculating that etheric and energetic plumbing with clean, clear, new energy, the new version of you. In the next few moments, we'll take another deep breath in and go even deeper into the body, down into the perineum, down to the tailbone, down underneath you. For some of you, you may already be feeling that heartbeat or that feeling or that warmth underneath your body. Let's bring our attention down there as we take a deep breath in as a group in 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Hold that breath. And release. All the way down. As we bring our attention down to the bottom of the body, into the root structure, into the base of the pyramid, into the earth star chakra underneath your feet, just a few inches underneath your feet, we just bring our attention to the bottom of our energy body. As we prepare to expand and amplify our energy up from the bottoms of the feet up to the very top of your head, once again, we just become aware of that energy, that emotion moving within us. We become aware of those desires to become more, to experience more, to step into our missions, to awaken that ancient version of ourselves, ready to expand, ready to ascend, ready to find that next version of you. You just bring your attention and awareness right down to the tailbone, right down to the perineum, underneath your body, as we begin to light those flames within you once again. The flames of destiny, the flames of your soul's highest frequency. I'd like you to begin to do some deep breathing, calling into your body, that deep, slow, deliberate breathing, once again, priming your belly, priming your body to receive energy, to connect with your highest optimal timeline at this stage. Begin breathing deeply, fully. There you go. Expand your body. Very, very good. In the next few moments, we'll create one very large tone, pulling this energy from the bottoms of your feet up to the very top of your head, connecting you with that timeline, reconnecting you with the earth grid, plugging yourself deeper into that crystalline Gaia connection underneath our feet that supplies our body with the dimensional energy needed to allow us to enter that stage of full embodiment, full realization of who you are. Continue to breathe. Feel into what you're creating. Feel into your desires. Especially those things so dear to you that you dare not speak them to another living being. Whatever that is for you, that feeling, that experience. We'll create one more tone today and we'll drag that from the bottoms of our feet all the way up to the top of our head. From the earth star to the soul star chakra, repolarizing, reconnecting, feeding that body with the next wave of dimensional light. As we do this, allow your energy to settle, allow your breathing to normalize. Once again, we reach out to those guides, guardians, ancestors, family members, galactic family, all those members of the collective soul group that have gathered here today to assist with the ascension of the members that are present here. We honor you and thank you for your assistance. for your guidance. In the next few moments, we'll take a deep breath in from 3 to 1 and expand this tone from the bottom of your feet up to the very top of your head. As you exhale, just imagine you're blowing on that campfire, you're blowing on the coals, you're lighting those flames within you once again, above and below. As you exhale, watch those flames grow. Watch them turn from orange and yellow to blue, lighting that blue flame within your body once again, coming back to yourself. Let's take that deep breath in. 3, 2, 1. Deep, slow breath in, all the way in. As you exhale, expand that breath from the top of your head all the way down to your feet. Just allow that breath to completely drain out. Feel your body as it is in this moment. Feel your emotions as they are in this moment. Feel your energy as it is in this moment. Acknowledge that at this moment you are connected in with the multitude versions of yourself on the dimensional plane. Those other versions of you that have gathered here today alongside with you in their homes and other places in this world and in this physical realm. Acknowledge the energy flowing between each of you at this moment. Acknowledge the desires, the healing, the emotions, the linkage that exists between each of us in this realm. And just understand that on the other end of this computer or this call or this wire is another version of you, existing on another timeline, in another place, in another location, all moving toward the same thing: expansion, ascension, activation, the next version of you. And so as we allow our energy and presence to come back into this room, into this body, we once again take that deep, slow breath in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Pull it all the way into your body and just go ahead and let that one out. Just let it all the way out. Feel the expansion in your diaphragm and in your chest. Feel the silence in your head. And the very last thing we'll do today as a group is look over your left shoulder. Look over your left shoulder in your mind's eye. Behind your left shoulder stand our guides, our guardians, our ancestors, our family members, all those that have gathered here today on behalf of this group to assist in the healing, release, and activation of those present here. We honor you and we thank you for your assistance, for your guidance, and for this healing in this life. We ask if there are any additional messages, any activations, anything the members of this group needs at this stage of their incarnational cycle to assist them with moving forward in their most optimal timeline. Begin transmitting the contents of those messages now. Over the next 24 hours, in whatever way they're capable of receiving them. In the name of the one infinite creator. So it is, so it is, so it is. So it's 1:11 p.m. here on the West Coast in California. Perfect timing. Let's start bringing ourselves on back into the body, back into this realm. Bring ourselves back to October 6th, 2019. October 6th, 2019. Just take that final breath in. And just remember this date, October 6th, 2019. Deeply honored for each of you joining us here today. So as we move forward, what do we do now? We cleared our energy. We went through a very unique process, creating a scalar wave frequency in the body. What do we do next? What do we do with this information? Well, as you allow yourself to drift on back into the room, back into the here and now, one of the things we begin to understand as we move forward is we just take responsibility for our energy. We begin a heavy metal detox. If you haven't done this already, there's a number of supplements you can take to assist your body with releasing heavy metal buildup. The supplements are far too many to mention, but there's a multitude of things available to you at this point. So if there's anything I suggest you do after this is, begin that process, detox your body, take responsibility for your energy. Learn a process of self-healing, transmitting your deepest wounds. We talked about it earlier. TREs, trauma release exercises, shamanic practices, energy clearing, which you did here today. You can learn an energetic healing modality or self-clearing protocol, and there are many of these available to us. Today we went through the process of golden frequency attunement and scalar wave creation with the human body. That's one of many. But begin to put it into practice. Begin a regular spiritual practice. If there's one thing that I've done in my day-to-day physical life that has truly transformed the physical body, it's a practice of Qigong, or at the very least, daily meditation and daily connecting with the multidimensional streams of energy within you. When we do that, we begin to, learn to use discernment processes in a new way, and that's where we begin to learn the frequency of truth in the human body. But most importantly, along with that, begin willing to change our conclusions when new information is presented. If there's one thing I've learned at this stage of the game, we are figuring this stuff out together. There's no one singular authority on the nature of non-physical energy, on energy clearing, on any of these, these processes and concepts and things that we're talking about. And so in my opinion, it's very important for each of us to begin to, understand the frequency of truth, but even more to be willing to say, we've learned more, or I was wrong, or now I know this. So just be ready and be aware that for many of us, the path of awakening, the doorway to higher consciousness often comes with a full revision of a lot of the ideas and programming that we've held this whole lifetime. So as we move forward, just be sure to maintain awareness and sovereignty over your energy. What's mine is mine. What's yours is yours. For those of you that have done individual clearings with me, that's a phrase we use as we close off the energy body. But above all, understand that, we came here for this mission. Be gentle to yourself. We chose this life. We chose this body, and we are absolutely not alone. Many of you were able to feel the stillness and the presence of your spiritual team and the higher self and your guides and your angels and those that have been guiding us. The reality is, help always comes to those who ask. That's a reality for each of us in this room. And so we are not here alone. We're in this together. And it's all about personal sovereignty and taking agency over your energy. But I have gone on long enough. For those of you guys that are here with us still, thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for going through this unique process today. So this closes out the multidimensional awareness and timeline unification process. I want to deeply thank each of you for being here. Feel free to check out the website. For those of you guys that would like to take an additional journey with me, we begin the next course on November 17th of this year, in which we're going to be getting a 6-week process, a 6-week, what I like to call the deep dive, quote unquote, into very specific structures specific elements, pieces of your consciousness, pieces, you know, of your energetic anatomy, where each week for 6 weeks in a row, beginning November 17th, we're going to be discussing and working with specific areas of the body. In each one of those weeks, we'll also be going through a very particular type of energetic clearing designed specifically to awaken the next version of you, that multidimensional intuitive ability that you chose, those character settings on the avatar that you chose when you chose your body and incarnated down here. Each of us has a set of energetic skills, of psychic gifts, so to speak. Beginning November 17th, I'm going to be taking a very small group of people on a weekly journey in which we're going to be exploring these structures, working with this energy, and then coalescing, or rather culminating, with the solar eclipse that will be happening, I believe, on the Western Hemisphere on December 26th of this year. So this is a literal timeline eclipse creation journey beginning November 17th. And, you know, for those of you guys that are here with us today, and for anyone else that may see this, please do check that out on my website, rememberyourmission.com. It's the first time we've ever offered such a very distinct and particularly specific journey. And so I'm deeply, deeply grateful to those that will be joining us.